My name is Adhip. I finished my masters in philosophy and public policy at LSE in late 2017, and then I was trying to figure out like how do I get back into the social sciences in a sense, because I trained in philosophy and analytical philosophy, so there was a certain like conceptual rigor I was trained in, and I wanted to see how I can you know imbibe that rigor in the conceptual rigor in the social sciences. My mother told me about IIHS after I graduated from college and after finished my undergrad, and then I was working for a while in a think tank where I did some work on urban governance and urban economics. I wrote some articles and I would keep going back to the IIHS page to see the publications. And then the fellowship was on the page, and that's how I found out about the fellowship. There were a couple of expectations. One was I was tired of working on my own because I studied economics and then I did my masters in philosophy, and I think the way philosophers work is they work alone, and I was trained to like constantly like be on my own and think on my own and write on my own, and I had kind of had enough of that. I think I wanted to work with people. I wanted to work with people, um, and so working with people from different disciplines, that was one expectation, which was met here. A lot of the assignments and a lot of the work that we had to do in the fellowship involved working with people, which was great. The second expectation was field work. I wanted a lot more engagement with the field, with outside the classroom in a sense, and I felt like that was met to a certain extent, not as much as I wished it was. But again, it's like a 8-9 month fellowship, so you can't expect that. But the element, that the idea that yes, I want to work on the field is very strong. I mean, something that I'll really go away with. I think there were two moments. One was of course the teaching, and the classes were 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 pretty great, and I don't think I am thinking the same way now as I was before. I think there was a very deep shift because I've come to think through uncertainty and complexity and risk and work with it rather than try to eliminate it completely. That's something that I've learned to deal with here, and that's something I think that how we live our lives as well. I mean, that's how we ought to live, I think, not to eliminate uncertainty, but to work with it. So that was something that I really like, something that I really picked up from here. The second thing was working with people on the practica, and it was a moment of like we worked very hard on the practica, and we come from different disciplines, and so there were moments of agreement, moments of disagreement, and then we worked together and we finally like presented, which was well regarded, and that was something that that gives me a lot of confidence in my not only my abilities, but also my ability to work with people and to work with disagreement. I think just like the people here, the fellows, they're um, more than sort of the engagement. I mean, you really learn from your peers here in a very fundamental sense, and much more than simply what happens in the classroom. Um, the kind of stories that people come here with, it's it really opens up, I think, your world, and I think it makes you less rigid. And I think that's quite amazing when that sort of you see the process happening. You're trying to connect to people who come from so many places, so many different stories and all, and so how you change in relation to that is yeah, pretty great. So I think it really emphasized the what the fellows here have brought in. Yes, um, it was because I think the number of courses that we had, and the range of courses for the first in the classroom, from Southern Urban Theory, which is fairly theoretical, narrative to argument, which is again sort of how do you make an argument from stories and from narratives, and then there were classes on methods, some GIS, and also finance, planning, and governance and economics. So the range of courses that we did, though they were 2 weeks each, I think like it left a. I mean, there was definitely a texture of interdisciplinarity that came into it. I mean, and to slide in together with, I mean, how the social sciences ought to be conducted. And I think, though, you can only, I mean, there's certain limitations when you talk about interdisciplinarity. You can't, I mean, you can't be interdisciplinary in a non, in a sense which is completely and totally, completely open. You have to tie it up, and I think the tying up part, which was generally the social sciences and humanities, was something that I mean, personally, like it suited my interests and my inclinations. Though I wish like maybe we could have a little bit more economics, a little more technical economics stuff. I think, yeah, of course, join the fellowship. I mean, like if you're interested in the social sciences, whether you're interested in urbanization or urban studies or not, um, if you're interested in the social sciences, do join the fellowship, because it's a way of doing, I think, the social sciences, which is extremely, I think, not merely useful in terms of trying to the instruments that we learn here, but also I think very critical, which doesn't only have like a instrumental element to it. The criticality helps you in your engagement with people on the field. Of course it does. It gives you a certain sense of it it of sense of compassion. I'm not sure if the compassion is the right word, but a sense of attention to people um, on the field and in your lives. And sometimes like you'll notice that the way we go about things here, sometimes the distinction between the two is not very clear. And so going, I mean, like going with your personal relationships also sometimes as if it were the field, helps you, I think, like think about a lot of about your life in a very different way, and about the social science, of course, in a very different way. So I think that element of attention, deep attention to people, is something that that, yeah, that's value that's really, really, imbibe it, try to imbibe it, I think.